Okay, you put it on my page.
Okay, so if we are going to review this, first of all, there's a negative involved underneath the radical. So we need to look at our root index here. Our root index is 3, which is odd. So what do I do with that negative?
Bring it out to the one.
Bring it outside. So I'm going to make this negative the cube root of 375. Then we have to factor 375. So what number do you know that will divide into 375 evenly, and why do you know that? 5 will, because it ends in a 5. So you can use your calculator, do 375 divided by 5, and we get
75.
Okay. Now, I need to break down 75.
5 and 15.
5 and 15.
And then 3 and 5.
And 3 and 5. I did put highlighters on your desk. You can use them if you'd like. But as I was going through your work from yesterday, I noticed a couple things, so that's the reason why we're going to start with this review. Okay, so if I highlight, my leaves, each one of these little looks like points here are your branches, and your leaves are at the end of your branches. So you have a 5, a 5, a 3, and a 5. Now, if I have a cube root, do I want groups of 2 things, or do I want a group of 3 things? 3. So I'm going to, I circle mine, which means I'm going to pull that 5 outside, so I have,
You should pull just one since it's a group of 3.
correct. And then what's left over, which was this 3, would stay inside. So I would have that.
And then for the negative, since the negative was pulled to the outside, you would just bring it down.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so today we're going to have that same piece involved, but then we're also going to have variables underneath our radical. Okay, so we're going to have questions that look like this today. So these are our examples.
We're just writing down examples.
Yes, you're just writing down examples. Okay, so here's a problem. The square root of 20, and then you're going to have variables involved. X to the 6. Okay? So if you want to think about this, we need to do the square root of 20, so we need to show that factor tree for the square root of 20. So if I come over here, 2 numbers, 5 and 4, and then 4 would be 2 and 2.
Couldn't we just do 2 and 10?
You can do 2 and 10, and then 10 breaks down to 2 and 5. You will get the exact same thing.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so here are my leaves. Do I want groups of 2, groups of 3, groups of 4? What do I want? Groups of 2, because this is a square. So what goes on the outside? A 2. And what goes on the inside? The 5. Okay? Well, we're going to deal with the x to the 6 next. Okay? Now, what does x to the 6 mean? How many how many x's do I have there? 6. Okay, so if I think about that, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? This is a square root. We made groups of 2. So if I group these together, here's 1, 2, 3. So on the outside, I would have 2x. How many groups of x's did I make?
3.
So to the 3rd power, the square root of 5.
Oh.
Okay, I made 3 groups. Here I made 1 group of 2, so I pulled just the 2 out. Here I made 3 groups of x's, so that would be x to the 3rd It wouldn't make sense to write it as x, x, and x. It would be x cubed. Please.
I said, this is so much easier than what we're doing.
Because it's always, gets a little, the first day's really hard, the next day's a little bit easier, third day makes it a little bit easier, the fourth and fifth day, hopefully, it's really easy. Yes?
What would happen if it was a different number
Or like an
other than 2?
odd number.
We're going to look at all those examples.
What happened if the
Okay.
thing was like, with the,
I think I'm going to get your question here in just the second question. Just hold on 1 minute. If not, we'll look at it.
How many examples are you doing?
I have 10 examples. Okay, so here's the problem. The square root of 25x cubed. Okay. So 25, if I break that down, is going to be 5 and 5.
That was easy.
Which means what happens?
then you done because, well,
5.
I pull the 5 out front, right? Okay. Now, I have x cubed, so that's x, x, and x. How many groups can I make?
1.
One group. So on the outside, I'm going to put how many x's?
1.
1x. And on the inside, I'm going to have how many x's? 1.
So what happens to that 5? Is it just because
The 5 just is outside because 25 is a perfect square.
And the
so if
exponent's
it's a
nowhere
perfect
to
square,
Correct.
it's just one number that you pull out?
Mhm.
Okay.
What if you had 2 x's on your window? So instead of being 5x, you'd have, like, instead of being x to the 12th power, you'd have x to the 5th power or something like that.
Okay, so if I had, so you're saying if I, and you don't have to write this down if you don't want to. So you're saying if you had this, okay? So the 25 would still be 5. If I had 5 x's, I would have 2 groups, right?
Yeah.
So this would be x squared outside, and then I'd have 1 left over inside.
Okay, so you don't actually write a 2 in front of that.
Correct. However many groups of your variables you have, that's an exponent.
Oh, I think
Okay, you're welcome. Actually, that was kind of my next example, so I guess I'll skip it. Okay, so we'll do 3.
I forgot to put it on shuffle. No, it's on shuffle. It's kinda icky. I know it's cool.
Oh, God.
this seems fun.
It's fine.
Oh, good. It's like 5.
Okay, so you're going to break each piece down individually. So you're going to have 18. We need to factor 18.
9 and 2.
9 and 2 will work. And then 9 will be 3 and 3. So we're
So why
going,
don't you, I have a question.
yes.
Why don't you do 9? Like,
I know, why did you do 9 instead of the 2 this time?
yeah, like why?
Yeah.
Is there just certain numbers?
Because
Oh, but
2
you can't
is
do it.
prime.
Yeah,
You can't do 2.
Into 2.
2 just breaks down to 2 and 1, so you're right back where you started.
Oh, okay.
And why did I write the 9 first instead of the 2 first? Because that's what you guys said first. It didn't matter which one you wrote down first. Okay, so I'm going to pull out a what? A 3, but I already have a 3 out there, so what do I do with those 2 numbers?
No.
You multiply them. So 3 times 3 is
9.
9. It would have been the same thing. Amia, what you said was correct. Okay, now what do I have left? A 2. And I'm just going to write down my variables for now. Okay, so now we have 9 A's. 1, 2, 3. And I have 5 B's. So we need to make our groups
Of 3, right? Or just
of,
2?
of 2 because this is still a square root. So I have
4 groups of A
4 groups of A
and 2 groups of B.
and 2 groups of B. Very good. So outside with the 9, Amia, what do you think I'm going to have? A to what?
A to the 4th.
A to the 4th. Excellent.
B to the B squared
B squared. The square root,
of 2.
2, and then how many A's did I have left over?
1.
1 A left over, and how many B's?
2.
1 B.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
That makes so much sense. Can we do another one today? Because that was kind of.
I was going to, they're all very similar to that. I was going to change to a cube. Does that matter? Instead of a square root, a cube root? Okay.
Shut up. Yeah.
Okay, so we have the cube root of 81 x to the 4th y.
You get 5, you know.
81.
Yeah, you said you
9
don't want
times
to.
9.
Oh. No, I didn't.
No, yeah, that's
9 times 9. Okay, and 9's going to break down to Frankie, Nate. Okay, I need to make groups of how many need to be in my group?
3.
3, because this is a cube.
So 3 would go.
So a 3 would be on the outside,
3 would go inside.
and a 3 would go on the inside.
Is it because the 3 is left?
Yes, it's because you have 1 3 left. Okay, now I have to worry about my variables. So I have how many x's?
4.
I have 4 x's, and I have 1 y.
You have to make
Now, would you do
groups
3
of
X's?
3.
Yes. So I need groups of 3.
Why did you put the y together with the x?
I just wrote it all together. You could have separated it out. Okay, so I can make one group of x's. So what comes outside with my 3?
3x.
An x, the cube root of 3. Do I have any x's left? 1 x is left. And then what do I do with this y?
Just put it down.
Put it down outside or under the radical?
Under the x.
Under the radical, because you didn't have enough to make a grouping.
Oh, jeez.
Does the variable part seem okay so far? Okay. The cube root of negative 125, a to the 3rd, b to the 11th.
Harrison.
Yeah. I was wondering how you could do that.
Yeah. We're gonna add it here.
Oh, I took a guess on this. So, since this is three right here,
Mhm.
I got three groups.
Right.
But there's only one group of three, so I'll just give
Right.
A.
Yep.
And then there's two B's.
Yep, yep.
So that's four.
The only thing you forgot was your negative on the outside.
Oh, because you gotta bring it down.
Excellent. Okay, so first off, you should pull your negative on the outside.
Does it just go on the outside or does it go where that three is?
It goes.
It goes on the outside, not where that little 3 is. No,
Okay, so on the outside.
on the outside. 125, what did we break that?
25.
5 and 25?
Help is for the big.
Okay, so we have one group of 3 5s, so on the outside I'm going to have negative 5. Okay, I have I have 3 A's, and then I have 11 B's.
So you would just put the three A's.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my goodness, 11 of them. Okay, so I can make how many groups of A's?
One.
How many groups of B's?
Groups of B's.
Okay, so what's going to go out here with our negative 5?
An A, and then B, Q,
Okay, and then the cube root, and what's left on the inside?
two B's, so B squared.
B squared.
So you still would put cubed in the cube root.
Yes, yes. And that's what I was saying on Monday. I always forget to put my little, keep that root index, keep that. I drop it all the time, and it's a bad habit that I have. So, yeah. Okay, so now here becomes the question. So far, I've given you exponents that are small numbers, right? Okay? I mean, b to the 11th, there was 11 of them there. What happens if that number gets really large? So if this number would have been b to the 20th, you probably don't want to write 20 b's across your paper and group them together. So let's think outside the box how else we could do this. Jess?
20 divided by 3, but you try to get as much 3's as closest, so the 3 closest would be 18, and 20 subtract 18 is 2, so you'd have 2 left over.
Correct. Okay, so what we can do, and I'm going to use this example, not my example that I just said, 20. Okay, I have b to the 11th. How many times does 3 go into 11? And if you don't know, you have calculators, and you can do 11 divided by 3. You're going to get 3 times, right? Okay, what number did I put outside with my b? 3. What's 3 times 3? 9. And if I subtract 9 from 11, I have the 2. Okay? So you can do it if they're smaller numbers, just writing them out and circling them. That's the reason why I showed you that way. But Math Excel needs to sometimes, or I can't set what your exponents can give you large numbers. We're going to do Math Excel tomorrow. Okay? So I want you to have another way to do that. You still, by all means, can write them out, even if it's a large number, and group them. Okay? We're on 6, right? Okay. Okay, so let's do that. Let's make a large number. 54, we'll make y to the 25th. Okay, so we're going to treat the 54 like we just did. So we have to break down our 54. What's 2 numbers? 6 and 9.
And 3 and 3.
9 is 3 and 3, and 6 is
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay, do I have any grouping of 3? Okay, so 3s. So there's one group of 3s that are going to come on the outside, and what's going to be left on the inside? A 2. Okay, now we have y to that 25th. If you want to put 25 y's across your paper and group them, you can do that. We're going to try it the other way. Okay, so if you need your calculator, pick up your calculator. How many times
8.
does 3 go into 25? So in other words, 25 divided by 3. 8. So on the outside, I'm going to have y to the 8th. Okay, now this is how I think of that. Take this exponent and your root index and multiply them. So what's 8 times 3? 24, and I had 25 to begin with. So how many are left underneath? 1. That's it. Okay? So you can see the transition. You can write them out, or you can try to just divide and then multiply. So we'll do, we're on 7, right? Okay. The cube root of negative 250, and I'm going to make these x to the, I don't know, 16th, y to the 23rd. We'll do it like that.
I don't understand it.
So would this be x to the fifth?
X to the 5th, yes.
Miss Harrison, would this be x to the 6th?
One more than that. 23 divided by 3. Oh, x. Oh, my bad. X to the what?
6th.
Nope.
How not?
Okay,
If you do 5 times 2, that's 10.
it's 3. You do it times your root index.
That's not what you just did, though. You literally just...
I did.
You're not just getting it on the salary.
So then what would it be?
How many times? If you do 16 divided by 3 on your calculator, you're going to get 5 point something.
I don't know.
And so you're going to have 5 x's, so x to the 5th on the outside. And then 5 times 3 is 15, so you had 1 left over on the inside.
You ever make me say, oh, I'm confused about this problem? I got numbers. Quit distracting me. God. Doesn't make me feel like a retard. I mean, I am a retard, but it makes me feel like a baby. Hey, you know,
So what I just made a group of 16.
Go stick with your numbers first. So you're going to put, so you're going to have negative 5 on the outside.
And the negative will always come from.
Call her.
Correct. Okay. And then left on the inside would be a 2.
Okay. And then it's 15.
Yep. Cube root. Should be 3. Okay. Now worry about your x and your y.
Did I break this up?
I'm gonna go to Tony Randy.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so first things, pull your negative outside.
Did you get points taken off if you didn't do that?
If you do
Rewrite the
it,
entire thing.
no. No, if you can know that the negative comes out with whatever else, you're fine, Abby. Okay, so how'd you bring down, please? 5 and 50? And so 50 would be 5 and 10. 10 would be 5 and 2. Okay, so I have what numbers coming on the outside?
3, one group of 5.
Okay.
So negative 5, 3.
Okay, so negative 5, the cube root.
And then 2 inside.
Okay, so there's all my variables. Now I have to get rid of my variables. So if we use our shortcut, we're going to do 16 divided by 3. What do you get when you do 16? 5. So that's x to the 5th. And so now I'm going to do 5 times 3, which is 15, but I had 16 there. So how many x's are left? 1. Now I have to do my y's. 23 divided by 3.
23 divided by 3.
Is 7. Okay, so then I'm going to do 7 times 3, 21. So how many y's do I have left if I had 23 there? 2. Okay, 8. Now pay attention to this one because it's not a cube root. I went back to a square root.
You can't have a pet that you don't have to take care of. Okay, you still got to feed
They don't have to take care of a cat.
You still got to dump the food in?
I don't know. I think my daughter's cat's probably the neediest animal I have.
How would you write this?
If you're already
How would I write the 63 or how would I write
the auto
the
It
whole?
would be -2. It would just look like 23.
Oh, multiply those. So -2 times the 3. Okay, break down 63. What's 2 numbers that divide into 63? 7 and 9. And 9 would be 3 and 3. Okay, so what number comes on the outside? the 3, very good. There's already a negative 2 out there, so what do I do with those two? Multiply them, so I get negative 6, 7, x to the 7th, y to the 10th. Now, when I look at my variables, I'm not going to divide by 2, I'm going to divide by, or excuse me, I'm not going to divide by 3, I'm going to divide by 2. So 7 divided by 2. So this would be x cubed. How many? 3 times 2 is 6, and I had 7 x's. So how many do I have left? 1. And then 10 divided by 2. So I have y to the 5th on the outside. Do I have any y's left over? No.